Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach. As always, I'm joined by Christian Garcia.
Hi.
Coming to you live from the quantum realm, probably.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably what I put behind us, some sort of Antman related thing. Because today we're talking about Antman Quantumania. The new movie just came out this week, and so we're bringing the episode a little late this week just so we could go out and see it today and then do a fresh review of it. We'll be doing our spoiler-free, should you go watch kind of review before our little break. But if you want to get into the spoiler talk and like theories about what the MCU is doing next, check the time code down below. You can see when we actually get into the spoiler discussion of Ant-Man. So before we do that, though, make sure you like and subscribe. Click the little bell icon, all that good stuff on YouTube's. Follow us and add us to your favorites on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast audio platforms. And if you want to take it one step further and help support the show, check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. Donate some dollar dues, help us out, and support the show. Christian, let's do some nerdy confessions.
See.
Where we confess things that make us nerds.
So my nerdy confessions, I've been pretty good about not buying boxes, although we did each get a box of the Phyrexian set, which I don't think we've covered yet. But
yeah, we might have talked briefly about it. Our magic addiction continues.
It is hard. So I've been good about not buying the boxes, but I've been buying a whole bunch of singles, which is not the same thing. So
sexy singles in your area.
I've been trying to either make my own commander decks or modify the Rebel deck that I got because it played really bad the first day.
Maybe I just played really good, Christian.
The other three players just played extremely well. It was pretty bad. The tiny little modifications I've made, I've tested it out. Although it wasn't four-way commander, has been pretty good, so I'm excited about playing it. See how well it plays against four.
Yeah.
So, jazzed up about it.
Yeah, I think, we've been having a lot of fun with the new Phyrexia All Will Be One Magic set that just came out. I'm still hunting for this one particular card, the Elish Norn, Mother of Machines card. I really want to build a deck around that. And so far, of the hundreds of dollars I've spent on boxes, I have not pulled one. So I think it's about time to pull the trigger on a $50 single card. Maybe I can find it a little cheaper somewhere else. But yeah, Magic, it's a slippery slope, man. It's a bad hobby to be in when you have no job.
Yeah, our buddies at Dice Legends was like, hey, so I'm curious because you guys are posting about it. Like, if I get a commander deck, then I can play? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Would I have to buy new cards? You do not. Would it help if I buy new cards? Absolutely.
Sure.
I was just like, I don't know anyone who started playing Magic and has only bought one commander deck and nothing else.
Yeah. Well, I think, one thing that, to shout out another podcast/YouTube channel, if you want to get into Commander without spending a shit ton of money, you buy a deck that kind of speaks to you, whether it's the art style or whoever the commander is on front. And then if you watch the Command Zone podcast, where they tell you how to do a budget upgrade, where it's like you spend $30 and to put in 10 cards, take out 10 cards. I've done that for several decks, and it's night and day difference. So you can have a very competitive deck with that without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, so.
Those guys are great. They're great at the Magic tips, but the upgrade they did for the Rebel Phyrexian, I didn't like.
Really?
No, I did my own modifications. It was doing research. Maybe because it was just like a $30, like a budget one.
Sure.
So it's not going to be a whole huge difference in gameplay, but those guys are awesome.
Yeah, definitely a fun way to upgrade deck. I like watching those episodes too because they give good insight on like how the decks play and stuff too. So very cool. Well, my nerdy confession is not Magic related for once. I've actually gone over to the dark side, Christian. I've bought a gaming PC.
I see. It's very nice.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So okay, don't hate me in the comments, all you PC players out there, but I did buy a pre-built one by iBuyPower, but it had literally all of the parts that I was looking to build myself. And it was like $300 cheaper than parting it out myself. So,
and you could still Frankenstein it.
Oh
man.
yeah, for sure. Like I could swap out. That's what's cool about it is it's not like a first party like a Dell or an Alienware or something. Like I can still take all those parts out and swap them out and upgrade if I want to.
When you said Adele, I thought you were talking about the singer for a second.
Hello from the other side. Like that one?
Yeah, little known fact, she's big
PC gamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hangs out with Henry Cavill and they play.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so far it's pretty cool. Like I initially did it because I was having some issues with doing the miniature painting stream on the old MacBook Pro.
Which you guys should watch and follow.
Yeah, check it out. It's twitch.tv/Cody1WON Kenobi. And I'll put it on the Nerds with Friends website eventually. But
when
yeah,
Cody sends me the message, me and the missus follow, it's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's fun. I try to, for me, like the best part about it is just like if I have one or two of my buddies on, it's like I'm not sitting in a dark room by myself painting miniatures by myself. It's like I'm just hanging out with buddies and I happen to be getting painting done. And I've been pretty impressed with like how much painting I get done while doing it, because you kind of lose track of time talking to people and stuff. And but yeah, it's really fun. And yeah, the MacBook was struggling a little. It's just not built for plugging so many peripheral things into it, which I think that's the biggest problem, because you have to dongle-ify everything. But
it's definitely night and day. Like,
yeah.
Like I could. Oh, look! I think I even said in the comments, "Hey, I could see you running everything smoothly. This is cool." Like, because before it would just pause on one screen,
right?
And then I was just having fun listening to Cody and chatting with everyone.
Yeah,
I've actually gotten used to it. When you had everything running, because like the last couple times like it would get stuck. I wasn't watching the screen. I was just listening and commenting. And then when I went back and looked, I was like, holy shit, he progressed so much. Like, it looks totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a big upgrade. And like I've been dipping my toes into PC gaming a little bit. I downloaded the Warhammer Darktide, which is a game that is supposed to come out on Xbox. It just hasn't yet.
I'm waiting for it.
But it, like, I played it just a touch, but I need to play it with some buddies. But I downloaded that, and then I also downloaded Space Marine 1, the game from like 10 years ago.
It would work on my Mac, right?
Space Marine 1?
No. The
Darktide?
Yeah.
Probably not. It's pretty graphic intensive. You could try it, but I just don't know if they make a version that's compatible. It is on
Mac Studio. It should run it fine.
It is on Steam, so
I'll try it out.
You should be able to.
People listening are really this fucking moron.
Oh, you know what I did? I have the Xbox Game Pass, so that's what I downloaded it through that. So if you can run that on your Mac, then I'm sure it will.
We'll find out. Everyone listening who's an idiot asking these dumbass
yeah.
questions.
Will it work on my Mac? But yeah, it's nice having a fancy computer that's like. It just sits there, and it like starts up really quick. It came with like a fancy keyboard. One thing I will say that I've learned through this whole process is everyone who talks about how like easy PCs are and how like, how simple they are and stuff are a bunch of fucking liars.
Which part of it was not easy?
So I mean, like, granted, all I did with this is I like pulled it out of the box and plugged everything in, right? But when I was looking into building it myself, it was like, I was excited at first because all my friends who are PC players also were like, hey man, don't buy anything. I have an extra motherboard. Oh, I have an extra graphics card. I have some extra RAM. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to put this together for cheap and it'll be awesome. But the more research I do is like, you find out like, okay, well, the motherboard that he has is an older motherboard.
Of course, it's not going to give you a new one.
That's fine. But that means that the newer CPUs won't plug into it.
Yeah.
So that means to find a CPU, I have to find an old one. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of sucks. It means I'm not most up to date. And it's like, okay, how about the RAM you got? Maybe if I just get a new motherboard and a new CPU, maybe I could just plug your RAM into it and I would save myself $80 or whatever. It's like, nope, that RAM won't work on these new motherboards. It's like, okay. It's like, okay, and that graphics card is like, oh, well, it'll only do up to 1080p, and most stuff now is 4K. It's like, okay, well, fine. And so it's like, after a while, you realize it's not as modular as I thought initially, and perhaps foolishly thought. So buying, I think, this all-in-one bundle is it was a pretty good jumping off point. It does way more than what I need for it, but it makes the stream work really smooth. I'm excited to eventually get the podcast, all the editing and stuff over to it. I think that might be kind of cool because the MacBook has a lot of built-in software, which is great. But I will say, like when it comes time to render the video after I've done all the edits and stuff, I just have to like leave the MacBook sitting there for like half an hour, and it just like slowly goes through. I'd be interested to see if this is like way faster, but I don't know.
You have to put an image of like Tim Cook back here,
just frowning. I mean, no Apple. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know how much like legit gaming I'll be doing on it, but it's nice to have like a workstation that I can just sit at and paint minis, and even having my mini up on a monitor where I can look at closely at it has helped quite a bit. So
hey, at least when Diablo comes out.
Oh yeah, I'll be all over that shit for sure. Yeah, and then like a lot of Warhammer games and stuff are like PC exclusives and stuff. So I am excited to dip my toes in a little deeper. But yeah, it's got a NVIDIA 3060. If anyone's interested, I'm told that's an okay middle of the road graphics card. They're like, well, it's not a 4090 Ti or whatever. I'm like, okay, slow your roll, bro. I'm not spending $1,200 on a graphics card. That's another thing too. Is like I've been playing I bought the new Harry Potter game, which
did you?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking awesome.
I didn't know you hated trans people. That's interesting.
First of all, you can tell the studio.
I'm actually glad we're talking about it. Go ahead.
I think the studio who made the game wanted to distance themselves a little bit from J.K. Rowling's obviously transphobic views.
Yep.
Because there is a trans character in it.
Yeah, that's
like
what I read.
She's like a main side character. But yeah, it's a fun game. But I will say, like, it's so much easier to just sit in my room and play that on the PS5 than have to come in here and like load it through Steam or whatever in here and on this thing, and then sit on the smaller monitor. And it's just like the consoles are still my preferred way to game, at least so far.
So I have mixed feelings about it. Like, so my
about
thing
trans
is like,
people, I know. I've heard them.
That's supposed to be off air, Cody. No, like, granted, I get the point that like J.K. Rowling is probably getting some money off the game,
sure,
which is not great. But I feel for all the artists and like the programmers who worked on it. Like, they probably don't have those feelings, and they probably just took a job. And
right,
it would suck like if this game failed, and it's like a mark on their record. And I guess it's easy to say, well, they shouldn't have taken that job. But it's like, dude, sometimes a lot of that work is contract. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, you gotta,
not only that, but like, if you work at a studio, like let's use ILM because it's a famous one, right? If you work at ILM, it's not like me, the computer graphics artist, has any say in what movies we take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, the higher ups are making me work on this, this piece of work, and it's like they don't have any say in it. So what are they going to do? Quit their job? It's rough.
Yeah, so
because of what some out of touch, older white lady thinks. But yeah, honestly, I don't think anything's going to hurt the Harry Potter train, other than like bad writing, which is I think what happened to the Fantastic Beasts.
I didn't even think about this, but like all these super gung ho religious people who just so happen to be right wing, like all hated her when she was doing like these witches and sorcery and stuff.
Yeah, they all thought it was like satanic worship.
But I bet now
they're like,
all
right, she's okay.
Yeah, like what do they feel about it? Like which way are they going? Like,
yeah,
it must be conflicting for them.
I don't know, man. I just like I can separate her like from her work because like look, the Harry Potter world has grown up beyond what she initially put down on paper. You know what I mean? And I think, at least from what's happened recently, she has only done harm to it as of recently. So I'd be okay if like they kind of took it away from her and just like started making their own things, because the game is fun. It's definitely not a perfect game for sure. Like they did really well making a Harry Potter game, but they didn't do amazing at making an RPG open world game. Like there's definitely like some shortcomings there. But it's definitely worth, like if you want to fuck around in the world of Harry Potter, Like you can get a broom, you can ride on the back of a Pegasus or whatever, or a hippogriff, or a thestral or whatever. You can cast spells. You can learn the unforgivable curses, freaking Avada Kedavra people and stuff. You can capture magical beasts. You can brew potions and grow crazy plants. Like you can do everything that you want to do in a Harry Potter world. So if that sounds appealing to you, I definitely suggest.
I will say I am impressed about like how you can customize the look of your character. I saw some folks on Mexican Twitter. They made like a super Mexican looking character with like a sombrero like thing and like dark skin and like really like village like clothing. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like that you can make those types of changes.
Well, there is a bunch of loot that you can find in it. So, I'm sure they've found there is a wide variety of like wizarding type clothing and stuff. I will say, like, honestly, the character creation part seemed a little whack to me.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I guess it makes sense. You're supposed to be a 5th-year student. And, so no one can have beards, which obviously, sucks for someone like me. But also, like, you can't change body size or anything like that. So it's like everyone's just the same body. You just change skin color, face, and hair. But it's, it's fine. It's whatever. I think without ruining anything in the game, I think the biggest shortcomings are, for one, there are several choices where you're presented with a choice in the game, which sounds like it would have an impact on what the ending is or what your character does, but it has none, right? So it's like the illusion of choice. Even like choosing your house, right? Whether it's Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, or Slytherin.
No one's picking Hufflepuff. Come on.
There's some people out there who fucking love Hufflepuff, okay? I was a Ravenclaw. I almost went Slytherin. I wanted to go Slytherin real bad, but I'm like, Ravenclaw's kind of cool too. But picking your house like has like no effect on the story at all, other than like you get a few interactions when you first go to your house common room or whatever, and some of the people you talk early on. But everything else, like throughout the rest of the story, is generic. Like it doesn't matter. You can still do side quests with the Gryffindor girl or Hufflepuff girl. You can still learn all the spells you want. There's no specialization. When you make your wand, it's like, oh, you can put, do you want dragon heart string in the middle or unicorn hair or phoenix feather? It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, how long do you want it? What wood do you want it made out of? It's like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Has no effect on how the wand performs.
I understand the programming that would go into it would be rough, but it would be cool. Like,
I mean, realistically, all it is you take the stats from any RPG, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So make the dragon heartstrings got better attack but worse defense or whatever, right? They just didn't apply some of those RPG elements very well to the game, I thought. Also, like learning the unforgivable curses, which I won't spoil the actual storyline of that, but like that should have an effect on the story, right? Like people should be like, dude, what are you doing? You shouldn't be learning those. No one cares. Like I'm out there with doing a mission with the professor from Hogwarts, and I'm like fucking Crucio, just like torturing people, and he's like, whoa, wow, that's crazy.
Nice.
Your wand work is improving quite rapidly. So yeah, a fun game. I think I didn't mean to go on such a long tangent about Harry Potter.
This show going on tangents?
Yeah, exactly. Weird. But check it out, Hogwarts Legacy. If you're into Harry Potter, it's a fun one for sure. I will say my favorite part so far has been capturing magical beasts, and like you get to like create a little area for them and play with them and stuff.
See if you can start modifying it where you can make Pokeballs and you just throw that to capture them and stuff.
That's basically what you do. It's just a magical bag that you open up and it sucks them in.
So it's just like a bag of holding with a vacuum in it.
Yeah, exactly. And also there's shiny versions of them, just like Pokemon, where they're like rare coloration. So I've been hunting those down.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, well let's start talking Antman. We've put it off quite a long time already, but let's do our spoiler-free. Should people go and see this? Movie's out now in theaters. Just came out yesterday, I think, is when it first opened. So, Christian, what do you think?
It was good. I mean, I was purposely avoiding a lot of reviews and spoilers until like an hour before it was time to go watch. I was like, all right, let me just see what people are saying. And it was a mixed bag. It was a total mixed bag.
Yeah, at least last time I checked, it was worse rated on Rotten Tomatoes than the Eternals, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. No, there's no way, no.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just a bunch of... And here's one thing I will say about it. If you're not a fan of comic books in general and you just want to see a movie, I think this movie in particular really relies on someone who's able to accept some of the craziness that happens in a comic book.
Yeah.
Right? So this doesn't spoil anything at all yet, but we know that Kang is in it. We know that MODOK is in it. All those images have been released in trailers and stuff. Those characters are very hard to accept as a normal moviegoer who's not into comics.
Or hasn't followed any of the Marvel stuff for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I am not an expert on Kang or MODOK, but I know enough about them where, like, I can accept them as a character in a movie like this. The multiverse and the multiple versions of yourself and stuff can get a little out there for maybe your everyday movie critic, and maybe that's why it's been getting some of these reviews. But I had a really good time in it. I thought it was hilarious. It was probably one of the funniest Marvel movies we've seen since Thor Ragnarok. Much better than Thor Love and Thunder. And
I still don't know how I feel about it, man. There were some parts I really liked, and then there were some parts it's like, yeah.
What, Love and Thunder or Ant-Man?
Love and Thunder. No. Ant-Man I enjoyed. Ant-Man
Yeah.
was good. I don't know what the mixed bag was. I think it's exactly what you're saying. If you're not a comic book person, or if you're just a cinema critic, it's
Right.
not going to be what what you're used to, I guess. But in terms of a comic book movie, it was a solid comic book movie.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, there was great action. There's great comedy. There's some real stakes that are happening in it and stuff. It was everything that I feel like the MCU has been missing in the last couple movies. So I'm excited to see kind of what happens next. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth seeing. And I think it is worth seeing in the theater too. Because some of the quantum realm stuff is there's crazy vistas and stuff. Now we saw it in the 4DX thing where the chairs like rumble
Which
around.
I was gonna say, if you have access to that, definitely watch it.
It's cool, unless you have like back issues or something, because you get tossed around. But yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's worth seeing. I'm excited to see what happens next. And we got a lot of theories about what's going to happen next in the MCU now that this has been set up. So to listen to those, we're going to take a quick little break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about all the spoilery talk of Antman Quantumania. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. Now we need to talk about some spoilers. So if you have not seen Antman Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I should say, we will be talking about full spoilers. So, pause the podcast, turn down the volume, let's get that play, But, yeah, we're going to be talking about in depth on the story, what happens, who dies, all the cool stuff. So basically, I think the trailer has summed up the plot of this movie fairly well, right? Like Janet Van Dyne lived in the quantum realm for a while, and she had met Kang down there, and she was scared of him. She knew how terrifying he was, and didn't tell anybody about it. But then they get sucked back in due to what's her name, Cassie Lang. Getting sucked in. They all get sucked in there. And
I understand why you were confused, because she would refer to.
She called Hank Pym Grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa.
It was very strange.
Which we don't know if they got. I'm assuming they got married.
We don't really know.
They don't really. It doesn't really matter too much to the story. But yeah, she would refer to him as Grandpa. Yeah.
So, they get sucked in there and basically have to fend off Kang the Conqueror. Now, I think. Overall, I think the setup of the movie was really cool. Like seeing how Scott Lang has become like a celebrity author kind of thing after his days saving the world and stuff. He's really, he's not your Captain America who's in it for love of the game. You know, he just got kind of pulled into the whole superhero thing. But I thought all of that stuff was really funny. I will say, I missed all the guys from the Ant crew.
His crew, yeah, I didn't think about
Michael
that.
Pena, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Michael Pena, and all the other crew. Like I missed those guys, but there were some other really good characters in the movie too. I mean, I think one that really stood out was MODOK, who is basically Darren from the first Ant-Man, who was Yellow Jacket. When he got crushed at the end of that movie, he got sent to the quantum realm, and because he was like crushed by a bunch of unregulated Pym particles, his head stayed really big and his arms.
It makes me wonder if they had this plan the whole time.
I don't
because
know.
I did
so good.
It was really good, and I did rewatch the first Ant-Man, and yeah, you can see like his limbs get like sucked in. It's like I'm wondering if they had this plan the whole time, which Marvel usually is pretty good at about planning like multiple steps ahead. Or if they just figured this is a great opportunity of how we can bring MODOK, but it was played exactly how it would work in a live action movie where you
can't take MODOK super seriously.
You can't. I mean, I understand in the comics he is, he's a big time villain who, does a lot of killing, but here
now he's a mechanized, organic, designed only for killing.
Yeah.
Right. And also he gets introduced by Bill Murray.
Yes.
Which was hilarious.
I honestly thought he was going to have a bigger part, Sir Bill Murray, but I'm wondering if they cut a lot because, he had some bad press not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're around Bill Murray, you're going to get groped. Okay? Allegedly. I don't know. I mean, it felt like kind of waste, but he was perfect in that scene that he was in. As like the old love interest of Janet Van Dyne.
The old creepy guy.
He's like, so you're not a human? He's like, no, I'm not a human, but I am where it counts, where it matters or whatever. MODOK was fantastic. I mean, Corey Stoll played it so well, and he normally plays a very serious character.
Yeah,
but man, he did so amazing as this kind of humorous character.
He's one of those actors that I want to see in more things, but like he doesn't get a lot of parts. I think the longest running thing I saw him was The Strain, but outside of that, I mean, I guess he had.
I want to say he was in House of Cards.
He was in House of Cards. He wasn't wasn't there that long, but yeah, his little part was great.
Yeah,
I think he was there 2 seasons, but
yeah, I think so. But he was fantastic as MODOK. He has an incredible death scene, where he's.
I was gonna say spoilers, but we already hit.
We already hit the spoilers, so so he dies in the end, but he has kind of a turn where he sees the error in his ways, kind of thing, and helps out in the heroes' moments where they needed him most. And he's like, Scott, I always thought of you as like a brother. He's like, you did?
He's like, you did.
You did. He's like, I'm just glad to know I could die an Avenger. He's like, oh, yeah, sure.
Every time he was on, he definitely.
They show his little butt.
That was great.
Oh
that was
God.
One of my favorite parts. It was so pointless and so stupid, but so right.
Yeah, it's so good.
You know what it looked like? You ever seen that egg? That little Japanese egg, like
Gudetama.
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
When he's the yolk and he sees a little butt cheek, he's laying in the middle of the white of the egg.
He just had that little, Japanese egg butt.
Fantastic. I loved it. We should talk about Kang, right? Jonathan Majors returning as Kang, but like full-fledged Kang with the little scars down his eyes and the blue mask and the laser beams and all that good stuff. I think he did a great job as playing this like very like scary evil dude. I think one of the deals with Kang that needs to be worked out in future movies is like understanding his motivation. And we'll talk about this a little bit in the end when we talk about the end credit scene, but I think I'm hoping that Loki season 2 gets into some of the timeline thing. But I think he did a good job. He's very good at seeming like a very scary, unstoppable dude when he's like, just waving his fingers and like like crippling people and stuff.
Or even when he was playing helpless, like, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just trying to get out of here. I need some help.
Yeah.
The other me's put me in here because
The master
they're evil.
manipulator. Yeah.
They're evil. I'm just the one who's trying to save the whole timeline.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's, he's a guy who definitely thinks he's in the right, and you could definitely get that from the portrayal. I'm excited to see him in future things. We see a little preview of Secret Wars on Battle World, where all the Kangs are like collected together kind of thing. So yeah, we may not see this version of Kang again. We don't know. It's left kind of ambiguous whether or not he's actually dead or not.
Well, I think now with the whole time traveling and, multi-universes, it
doesn't really matter.
It's pretty easy to bring him back,
Right. I will say one thing that you brought up, which is a good point, is that I kept waiting for a mention of Reed Richards.
Something. I really, really thought that I didn't think that they were going to reveal the actors or even show the actors, but I really thought that they were going to hint something at either the Fantastic Four or specifically Reed Richards or Doctor Doom, and it wasn't there.
Right. And the reason why is because Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards. He's like a distant future descendant of
it's like great grandson or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which explains his like crazy intellect and love for technology and stuff. But yeah, it seems interesting that there is no mention of it at all. But they're saving the Fantastic Four for much later, so hopefully it'll all be worth it once they
hiding it hard, and particularly since they showed Krasinski, in
the Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but I guess they keep talking about that it's not going to be him, and I think that's going to be tough pill for people to swallow because they really want him, but we'll see.
I don't know why they just wouldn't have him.
And that's why as soon as I saw him, in that movie, I was like, all right, finally, they're going to start, plugging in little by little some Fantastic Four stuff. But
yeah, exactly. Nothing. Yeah, it's been kind of forgotten since then. But that's okay. I'm sure it'll come when it's ready, and, we'll get our fill of Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom and all that good stuff. There was a bunch of new characters introduced, all the quantum people.
It's hard to say. Like some were people and then some were just creatures.
But all the creatures and stuff were great. The little jelly blob man, Veb, he was hilarious when he was like, how many holes do you have in your body? 7. He's like, Scott Lang has to like count it in his head.
I was telling Cody before we started recording, I'm not gonna lie, I was counting.
I was counting too.
I was like 7? That seems like a lot.
That seems like a lot.
And then I was like, 2 this, 2 that. Oh no, yeah, 7.
7 seems right. I think that there was a really good world building in this where you really feel like you're in a smaller world. Like just some of the ways it was like shot and stuff really made it seem awesome. Like they're not just in space on a different planet. They're in a different universe, essentially.
Inner space.
But yeah, it was, it was a really fun movie. I thought they were going to kill Antman at the end, but they definitely don't. But they also, when they started bringing in that little doubt, because the movie opens with him kind of narrating, Scott Lang kind of narrating his life. Like, my life's been kind of crazy, fighting with the Avengers and Captain America and saving the whole world, blah, blah, blah. And it ends with that too. But then he starts thinking about, he's like, wait, King said if he didn't get out, that bad things would happen. Did I just doom everyone to like a terrible fate? Best not to think about it. And it kind of goes off. But I was like, oh, that kind of foreshadows what's going to happen with Secret Wars and stuff. So I thought it was very clever how they kind of brought up that little moment of darkness there at the end. What were some things you didn't like about the movie, Christian?
Well, it was right when we got out, mentioned to Cody, like it's kind of hard with Kang the Conqueror because to have him, because he is a big, huge bad guy, and it's a big deal because he has so much future tech, and it's almost kind of like whatever he needs at the moment, he has it in his suit, and he can just pop it up. But in this movie, it's like, he got beat by Antman, and you would think he'd have something against a guy shrinking or getting bigger, being so far into the future he is.
Well, to be fair, part of what took him out in the end was his own technology. So I think that's, I don't know what's going to happen in Kang Dynasty and stuff, but I feel like to beat someone like him, you're going to have to rely on his hubris
for sure,
and his own. You're going to have to mentally beat him before you physically beat him. And I think part of that is what happened is he got overconfident, and his own tech kind of took him out in the end.
Yeah, and like he says in the movie, I've killed thousands of Avengers. Like, yeah, right. I mean, what Ant-Man has is not going to be a big surprise,
right?
But it's fine. I mean, they obviously have to defeat him. There's going to be more villains, and he's going to be back. But that was the one thing is like I felt like it could have been written a little bit better. I like the idea that it could have been maybe more of his hubris that taking him out. Like, hey, you're zero threat whatsoever. Like, I don't have to worry about you. And but that's it. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think the same thing is like when he gets defeated, and again, we don't know for sure if this version of Kang will come back. Like he gets like sucked into his own power cell thing, and we don't know if that kills him. The other Kangs at the end of the movie do say it killed him, but we don't know for sure, right? Maybe he went into the quantum realm. We don't know. But I think that having him be defeated and having them even say that he's dead makes it seem like Ant-Man and the Wasp could take out Kang, which kind of lessens how strong he sounds, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think, that's only my really only my minor problem with the movie. I think the rest of it was great. I thought, it hit all the story beats I wanted. It introduced some new stuff. It left me with questions at the end. So I'm excited for what comes next from the Kang Dynasty. Let's talk about the after credit scene. Now, there were two of them. They've kind of returned to their standard format of 2 after credit scenes. So the first one is, we've talked about a little bit, is all of the Kangs are on Battle World. Well, we assume it's Battle World. And we see the Egyptian Kang,
which is like the first version we see that the Fantastic Four runs into. So that was great.
And then we see like a even more futuristic, like hairless Kang, which was kind of weird. And then like a borderline racist Asian version of Kang.
It's definitely not something a white guy would have been able to have done and got away with.
Yeah, exactly.
Those Cloud Atlas days are gone.
Yeah. Andy Rooney, right? Was it
Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney, that's right. Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's. But we see them and they're talking about like how the exiled Kang was defeated and how they needed to talk about what to do next. And so they brought all of the other Kangs together on Battle World to like discuss the future of the multiverse. So it's definitely like setting up that Kang as a threat, no matter which version it is coming back. And then, sets up the arena for, the Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty that we'll be seeing in the future in the next 6 years or whenever it comes out. I mean, all I think it really does is set up that we're going to see multiple versions of Kang. I don't think, I don't know if those particular 3 are going to be like the super end boss or not, but I think that it's just kind of laying the groundwork for what's coming next. And then the last after credit scene, or the second after credit scene, is another version of Kang back in looked like the 1800s sometime. And then we see Loki and Owen Wilson's character Morbius.
I don't remember.
I think it's
one of those.
I think it is Morbius, which is weird based off how bad.
Morpheus.
I don't know.
I don't know. Someone will correct
Mobius?
us.
Maybe it's Mobius.
Maybe it's Mobius.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe it's Moby. He's the DJ.
Yeah. No, it's definitely Owen Wilson. And they're seeing this old timey version of Kang who's talking about like selling some time machine or something. And Loki's like, no, this guy's really dangerous. He's going to cause a real problem. So it's kind of setting up Loki season 2 and what that is going to be about. I think it's going to be the TVA and Loki, maybe Sylvie, kind of discovering more about Kang. And I feel like that's going to be a very important series to watch for the future of the MCU.
I just really hope they do more than 6 episodes, man. That show was really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they will, but it's possible. As long as they're like 6 really good hour-long episodes, I'm down. But if they're like 40 minutes, like, come on, guys. Like, we want to watch the content. Just make the content.
And bring back original Loki, Gator Loki.
Old Loki, Gator Loki, little kid Loki. Yeah, I really like that show. I'm definitely excited for the new one. I think the new season is supposed to come out this summer, I believe. But yeah, really exciting stuff.
It's been a while since we had a Marvel show, right?
I think the last one might have been Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah. I feel
no, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, that's right.
Yeah. She-Hulk, so it has been a little while. I think that we haven't had a Marvel show that really sets up the future of the MCU in a while. Like WandaVision, Loki, even Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier. Like those ones really pushed the envelope forward for the MCU. And I think She-Hulk and even Miss Marvel to a certain extent really didn't do that. So it feels like it's been a little bit longer than it really has. But yeah, I'm excited to see Loki season 2. I think that's going to be the next big stepping stone in the Quantum Kang storyline for sure. But any last thoughts on the old?
No, man, I'm excited. Jazzed.
Ready. I'm ready for some like serious bad guys to start showing up in the MCU. Doctor Doom has always been one of my favorite bad guys. He's just so cool, and like his design is like classic.
See, and I thought
timeless.
And the fact of like when I saw Kang, they did a great job of making it look comic book accurate. And just seeing the green on him, I was like, oh, maybe this is where Doctor Doom is going to show up. He's going to pick up one of the leftover suits, and this is how they explain how he's going to have some tech that no one else has. I was like, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right fucking there. And they didn't do it. And it's like, all they had to do was make minor changes, or it got busted, like the purple parts got busted up. Something,
I know.
It was just right there. See, hire us. We can help.
We can do it. Nerds with Friends, Marvel movie consulting firm. We'll just write the next 3 phases for you, and we'll just ping pong ideas off each other. That's what we're here for. But yeah, let us know. Have you guys seen the Antman and the Wasp Quantumania? We hardly mentioned too. Like there were some great giant man scenes too when he's really big and stuff. So good. But yeah, let us know down in the comments what you guys thought. Was this a kind of a return to form for Marvel? I'd say, we are talking like there hasn't been a good Marvel movie in a while. Black Panther was very good.
Yeah.
But this one is kind of like, I always felt like Black Panther was kind of its own thing, especially since they didn't bring in Doctor Doom, right? So it felt like kind of off on its own as a wrap up to Chadwick Boseman. This one felt like, okay, the MCU is back where shit's going off, so... let us know. Are we right? Or are we crazy? Or should we listen to Rotten Tomatoes? Are they right that this is worse than the Eternals? I just don't see that.
No.
There's no way. But let us know down in the comments. And while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Helps get us in front of more eyeballs. And we do appreciate that. Check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends to help support the show even more. And, Christian, thank you for always being the Wasp to my Antman.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Veb. I guess I have 7 holes.
Yeah, you have too many holes to be Veb. And yeah, you'll if you watch the movie, you'll get that reference. Hopefully, you do get that reference. But to all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you and good night.